So we are on there. Tell everybody hi there. And give me about 30 seconds and we're going to light this candle, huh? Well, I tell you what, I appreciate everybody hopping on Wednesday nights. It's a lot of fun doing the show. We're going to have a good show tonight too, and we got some really cool stuff coming up here in a couple weeks. I'll tell you about, but pretty excited about tonight. So, all right, I think we can get going. I think you guys ready? I'm ready. Let's just go ahead and start this thing. All right, welcome to this week's edition of the Unknown Files Show. I hope everyone's having a great Wednesday night all across the good old U.S. of A. We got a fun show for you tonight. We're going to be joining a ghost hunting group out of Riverside, Iowa, future home of Captain Kirk. We'll talk about that later, but we're going to be visiting with Michelle here in a second, and show is brought to you in part by our good friends down at Revelton Distillery, official spirits of the Unknown Files Show. Go check them down in Osceola, Iowa. Tell them Outdoors Dan and the Unknown Files Show sent that to you. Sent you down there, by the way. Hey, speaking of Unknown or Revelton, there's Hank. Hey, Hank, how's it going? Howard Morton, good to see you, my buddy down in St. Louis on the Big 550. Howard's a good guy. All right, let me go ahead and get the phones lit up. I think I got everything set here. Let me go ahead and get Michelle on the line, and we will see if we can go down the rabbit hole a little bit. Michelle, is that you?
It is me. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for joining us on the Unknown Files Show tonight.
Oh, I'm super excited. We're talking about a great location, so I'm totally stoked.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you're stoked. I'm stoked that you're stoked.
Yay!
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you what, it's fun. This is our 7th or 8th week doing this, and we really have a lot of fun doing it. Folks, Michelle is spent years in the paranormal field as an investigator and researcher. She has multiple degrees and a lot of different philosophies. She is the founder of RIverside Iowa Paranormal and goes on investigations in Iowa and all across the country. Michelle is also the owner of Thriller Events, where you can book a trip to the dark side. They've got tons of events and stuff. We'll touch on a few before we get out of here tonight. Plus, tonight we're going to talk about one of the Iowa's hidden treasures. That's the Franklin Hotel at Strawberry Point, Iowa. So we're going to have a little fun tonight, huh?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Let me say hi to Anita Joe. How you doing, Rich? Rick? Good to see you, Rich. Rick. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. Everybody's enjoying the show already. We haven't even started yet. So, Michelle, how did you get into becoming a paranormal investigator? How did this happen for you?
Well, I guess like everybody's story, I think every time I talk to someone, I hear the same thing. I actually started when I was young. It was one of those that my imaginary friends were really not imaginary. And I kept thinking, why do they look different than anybody else? And why were they playing with my toys? And so as time went on, it became kind of like a nightmare for me because I started seeing, these spirits at the time of their death. So they weren't very angelic looking and things like that. And I've always was trying to figure it out of what is going on, what am I seeing? And so as I was getting older, I was diving into the paranormal because I was looking for answers for myself. And it just became a journey. And that journey was that I found out that I am supposed to give those messages for spirit and not to just the living, but a voice to those that had lost them, whenever they passed.
Huh. Okay. All right. So I think I got that set. Everybody, let me know if you're not hearing Michelle on the app. For some reason, I should be going over okay. Everybody, can you hear on? Do you hear? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear that. Okay. Okay, we're all right. I gotta ask you. So when you say you first started seeing this, was it when you were real young? How old were you?
I would say probably it was between 5, 6 years old.
Really?
And yes, and you know how you always get under the covers or you don't put a foot out because the monsters under the bed might get you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they were like my monsters because I wasn't sure what I was seeing. And, you know, at that time when you're trying to explain it to like your parents, you know, oh, your overactive imagination, different things like that, that you start believing, like, am I going crazy? What's going on? And my dad was in the military, so we did move a lot. And it just wasn't making sense to me that every place we were, they were there too. Different ones, but they were there.
So you were experienced when you went to base, everywhere you guys were stationed, you were seeing this stuff.
Yes. And so it was just kind of like, okay. And you start blocking it because you can't talk to your friends. You know, people make fun of you. I mean, I was kind of doing the paranormal when, you know, it wasn't on TV. People didn't know. You didn't talk about it, you know, and it was hard enough being a military brat and now adding, hey, I see dead people. I don't think it was a good mix.
Gotcha. Well, that'd be kind of scary. I mean, being a young person going from, I mean, it's already. I was in the military for a short time, but when you're going from duty station to duty station, I mean, that's already stressful enough. But then if you start seeing and hearing stuff that doesn't look right, that's kind of stressful, isn't it?
Oh, very stressful. You know, because you try to make friends and keep them as long as you can because you know that at some point you're going to be saying goodbye. So, you know, trying to deal with what you were seeing, but trying to stay with reality, it was like, you know, kind of a juggle.
Yeah.
And I did block it finally as I was getting older. I blocked it for a long time because I'm like, I can't do this anymore. You know, it was really starting to weigh on me. And as I started, you know, getting into adulthood, it started really coming like a freight train. And it was one of those, okay, I need to figure out why and why is it not letting me just kind of block it. And that's when the whole journey started of, okay, I think I need to be their voice because some people, you know, have lost their lives in tragic accidents and different things. And sometimes they just need those final words before they can pass on and go to the light.
Yeah. Absolutely. Need to say hi to Kenny real quick. Richard, Aaron, thank you very much, buddy. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. Thank you. You know, I got to tell you, just from doing this in a short time, you and I think we got to visit a little bit. Michelle, forgive me. It's this week's been a Lulu, man. I just,
Oh, I understand.
it's a lot of stuff going on because we got the Deer Classic coming up, and I've got some other stuff happening on the TV side. But it's just I've been enjoying this. I'm 59, and I mean, ever since I was a young person. I've enjoyed reading the stories and books and lore. You know, anything like Bigfoot or Loch Ness and the
Oh, yeah.
UFO side, and then the ghost side. And Hans Holzer, I used to read all of his books.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I
That,
mean, he had some really good books.
and I love the techniques
Oh yeah,
because, you know, we think about it during the time he was around. You know, that was a very bad taboo. I mean, you had in what, your 20s and 30s where seances and gypsies and all that was really cool because it showed that you had money and you could have these kind of parties. But then after that, it kind of just went, you don't talk about it, or, you know, people would want to try to lock you up.
well, you know that's an interesting thing that you bring up because, like in the 20s, like when Harry Houdini passed away, every year on Halloween they tried to have a séance. Before he died, him and his wife made an agreement that he would say this one thing. If the mediums didn't say verbatim what they agreed upon, then he said this is not real. It's fake. It's not right. It's not real.
Correct.
And she did it for I don't know how many years, but they never got the correct message. And that was the big rage back in the 20s and the 30s. I mean
Yes.
that was it was. I mean, you're like you were saying. People made full scale parties out of them, out of these things, events and stuff like that. And then when you got into the 40s, we got into the war. And then when people came back from World War II, it kind of went away until the 70s when the Exorcist came out. And then you started seeing a resurgence in the paranormal. And well, you know what, I take that back. There was some stuff in the 60s. What was it, Legend of Hell House, or
Yes,
yeah,
I believe that's it. Yeah.
yeah, that was in the 60s. And so from then on, and when I was a kid back in the 60s, I used to just like Dracula movies. But a lot of those parapsychology or paranormal movies came out, and I mean they were pretty tame compared to what some of the stuff that is out today. But I mean the psychological aspect of them were pretty cool. They were good movies.
Yes.
I tell you what, folks, if you want to see a good movie, you can watch with your kids. But it's a really well written movie. It was back in the 50s, I think, or late 40s. It's called The Uninvited, with Ray Milland, and I can't remember who the young lady was that was in that. But have you ever seen that, Michelle?
It sounds so familiar. I
They
probably have watched it,
it,
and
it's Ray Milland and his sister. They go and they buy this house that's on the seaside, and the girl that lives down the road, her mom was killed at that house. And whenever she comes over, they see her. They smell flowers, and they start experiencing paranormal stuff. I don't want to ruin the movie, but
yeah,
if you ever want to see a great movie about ghosts, look rent or get The Uninvited with Ray Milland. It's a great movie. So anyway, but you don't have to do it for a movie. You do it for real. You go do this
yeah.
in real life. So let's get back to the Franklin. How did you guys come across the Franklin Hotel at Strawberry Point in Iowa?
To be honest, I think we stumbled upon it. Um, I've heard a lot of things about the Franklin. It had so many different layers of, the different time periods and things that were going on. And I think we just, had reached out and we talked to the owners, which, Tatiana and them, and was kind of, asking questions about it. There's a lot of people that worked there that were having experiences, and we're like, we would like to come in and give this a shot.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to run a live there the first time, but for some reason, even with the great Wi-Fi, everything, hardwired in, it wasn't letting us do anything.
Really?
During that time, there was a family in one of the rooms, and they were just going to open the door to go downstairs to eat. Something was holding the door shut. They could not get out from the inside, and they were panicking. And I'm sitting there going, do I tell them that somebody's holding the door and is snickering about it?
You could see
And
him or you could hear him.
yes, no, you could see them,
You could
you could
you could see.
hear it. Yes,
Really?
yes. And I'm sitting there going, oh my goodness, this is going to be a great place. So we did a little bit that night, and then we actually came back, and we kind of made it an event because sometimes an event will bring the energy that you need to start getting, your EVPs and getting all the little, equipment going off. And that night, actually, there was a lot of activity. And one, I will, throw it out there. They got great food.
Oh, well, there
I
you
don't
go.
know what paranormal investigator can say. That's an important part before you do anything. And you always try to find the best place to eat.
Well, hey,
But
Michelle, let's reset real quick. Can you tell the history of when was it built? How long has it been open as a hotel? Do you know that backstory?
I don't know all the backstory because I go in blind,
Okay.
and then I actually just have the locals verify what I'm seeing.
Okay.
But from what I understand, I believe it was mid 1800s,
Oh,
if
wow.
I'm correct,
Okay.
that this was built. And the crazy thing is, it was built circular. So as you're seeing it on the street, like the picture,
Uh huh.
it actually is circular on the inside,
Really?
which, yes, it blew my mind because I didn't know. They told me because when you're in there, you don't realize it at first until you start going downstairs to the basement. But that was the way they built it.
So the whole hotel's like you go in a 360.
Yes,
That's pretty.
absolutely.
That's pretty.
And it actually makes you dizzy and you get lost.
Yeah, I would understand. Kenny Cole, how you doing, buddy? Brant, good to see you. Chris, out in New Jersey, thanks for watching and listening tonight. Brock, how's it going, buddy? Good to see you. So you go tell everybody why you go in without any knowledge. Why do you do that?
Well, one, because since I do see spirit, I don't want to know anything because, when I'm getting messages from them or they're trying to tell me the story or they're showing me things that happened, I don't ever want someone to come back and go, well, you must have read that or you must have seen it or they told you. So I go in completely blind. And then I start looking at, this person was doing this or she was murdered and things like that. And then we actually will ask locals that are there, historians, to make sure we verify what we see. Because there's always a written history, but then there's history beyond that never gets on the papers.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, Roger Wild, how's it going, buddy? Our buddy Roger up in New York. Good to see you. Upper New York. Don't say New York City to him. He gets offended. He likes Upper New York. Good. Tell everybody hi for me, Roger. Um, I got to tell you, I don't know how if I was able to do what you do, I don't know how I would handle that. I don't really get scared when I hear something. I've got video of stuff that I cannot debunk or explain that happened, and I think we talked about when I bought my old the house I bought before this one. I actually was hearing stuff that wasn't there, and a contractor was there with me, and he heard it too, but we couldn't find anything. But we both heard a cat, and there was no cat there. And then I got to see a cat walking around out of the corner of my eye, but the cat was not there, and my wife saw it too. But I don't know if I could handle seeing, especially little kids, Michelle. I don't know how I would handle that.
So little kid spirits, I'm just going to tell you, scare me to death.
Really? What
Well,
now?
and
Why did they scare you?
because sometimes some those little kids can actually be more of a negative energy
Uh huh.
that will actually form itself into something bad. And so I always have to kind of work with it. I do help a lot of little kids because I had learned here in Iowa, which I didn't know until I started doing these investigations. I was on a trail and I couldn't figure out why am I going to this location or this location. And the Franklin found out was part of it too, the orphanage train. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
I have actually. Yep.
Yeah, and so I've never heard of anything like that at all. And I'm like, okay, I keep coming up with these children. They're supposedly getting adopted, but other things were happening to them. A
Yeah.
lot of them were. Then I noticed I was supposed to be telling their story. They needed to rest also because you think about it, they left this earth with ever feeling any kind of love.
Yeah.
And so they're just lost as they were when they were living.
Was that during the Depression?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they were taking a train from, it started on the East Coast
Yeah. And going
and
out.
went all the way to the West Coast and had stops in between
Yeah.
because so-called families, a lot of families adopted them, or they would adopt a whole bunch per se because they needed, help either on their farm or around the house. And found out as we started digging more into it,
Lot of abuse and everything.
oh, it was horrible.
Yeah, yeah, that's not good. I couldn't remember if that was it was in the Great Depression or if it was right after the right before World War I. But it's a sad story. I mean, there's just and
Yeah, because these children had no families. A lot of these children, if
what
you remember right, was for prostitutes.
well that and there was during the when people got sick with the
Yep.
pandemic.
Yeah.
With the flu, the Spanish flu or whatever that was and stuff, a lot of the orphans were shipped out, because they didn't have anybody to take care of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just a sad deal. So when you see something like that, I know you say they scare you or you try to guard yourself. What do you do? I mean, how do you get them to find peace?
Well, I actually talk, about whatever they might be saying. This person hurt me,
Uh huh.
or my sister disappeared, or different things. Sometimes just saying some of the story will actually give them the closure that they were looking for.
Well, that's good. So do
And
you see them cross back? Do you see them go to?
yes, I do. I take them to the light
That's what.
and cross them over.
Yeah. My cousin is actually listening tonight. Hi. Hey, Yvonne. I don't get to see my cousins. I got two cousins. They're identical twins. And anyway, we had a lady when I was really young. Her name was Miss Jessie, and she could see phantoms and stuff because she would tell us. And
Mm-hmm.
I like I said, I've always loved that kind of genre, or I mean, Michelle, I don't know if I want to call it phenomenon. That's probably a better word for it, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, phenomenon. There you go. Hey, Vaughn, tell Yvette and everybody hi for me. I'm sorry.
You're absolutely
I
fine.
just don't get to see them. I moved to Iowa, and everybody's back in St. Louis. I don't get to see them like I used to. But so when you are so the Franklin, I mean, gosh, you probably see people from a whole bunch of different generations since it was a hotel, right?
Absolutely. It was so strange depending on what floor you were on. We were down in the basement, and you could hear music, and, and smell really heavy, like cigar smoke.
Hmm.
And to find out, I guess they had dances down there. But I also had this feeling that I kept seeing men in like suits and overcoats. And I know this sounds weird, but when I try to explain it to people, I kind of say, do you remember what the mobsters looked like way back in the
Yeah,
day?
yeah, they
All
had the
very proper.
yeah,
Yeah.
fedora hats and the
Fedora hats,
trench
all of it.
coats. Yeah, trench coats and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I was seeing down in the basement.
Really?
Almost like it was almost, I think it was a hidden speakeasy at one point.
So like during probation.
Yes, because I could see and hear, a lot of the chatter, the music, but I also heard uh, cards, like playing cards. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, okay, this might be what this was. And one of the other team members that was with me, that's also a psychic, kept seeing a man that looked like he worked there, but completely burned
Oh
on
no.
one side. And I wasn't able to see that person because I was looking at the other stuff. As we went upstairs to, talk, a lot of the locals had come to the hotel. They wanted to, everybody wanted to tell us a story about the strange things that happen here. And found out, I guess, there was a fire there. And this was a worker who actually got burnt to death.
Oh, that's awful.
So, not knowing any of that, we didn't know there was a fire, but it just started bringing more the hotel more to life. It almost like flipped upside down and took us back into the past and showed us and relived. But we were getting that on the recorders, asking questions. And then they had the famous prostitute that was there, Lily. And we were like, okay, so she was there for all the years until she passed away.
Hmm.
And the famous room number 7. And so we did some experiments in there.
Oh, well, Michelle,
And
why is room number 7 famous?
because that was Lily's room.
That was Lily. Okay.
Yep. And that's where she met all her gentlemen friends. And so I decided, well, this is the room was used for this. So let's see what we can do. And let's just say everybody, all the men that I had laying on the bed and talking about her, she can come out, and then we put money off to the side. Um, there was a lot of physical touching. So that kind of brought it so people actually felt it, themselves, and they could hear whispers in their ear and like somebody touching their face.
So when that happened, I mean, were you getting this on audio with EVPs, or were you hearing it?
Yes.
You were getting them.
Yes, so they were getting them as I was seeing it because it was one of those, maybe I should be watching this. But so the guests were getting it on EVPs and videos and things like that. Yes.
Huh? That's crazy.
It was pretty intense.
Oh, Hey, Dale, good to see you, buddy. Thanks for listening tonight. I appreciate that. Hi, Rob. Good to see you out there in Pennsylvania. It's crazy when I mean, do you when I had a lady on that last week. She did some stuff was it Highland, Illinois? I can't remember. It was, but they actually were having people getting their shirts tucked, pulled, and their hair. How often does that happen to you?
It happens a lot, especially when I have guests with me.
Do they do it to you, or do they do it who's with you?
They'll do it to me sometimes if I don't pay attention, because if I ignore them and walk away,
Uh huh.
I will get tugs on my shirt or something. Or I get like almost like a scream in my ear, like, hello, I'm right here, because there's times you just don't want to acknowledge because you're doing something different.
Right.
And they don't allow you to do that. They want to be heard, but normally then at that point I turn around and say, not this moment, I'll be back.
Do they listen
So
to that? Do ghosts have
they
manners?
actually do.
They have
They
manners.
do. They do have, well, when you're working with spirit,
Uh huh.
there is that line. I think you can talk to a lot of other psychics who do mediumships and things like that too. That, when you say just 1 minute because you're talking about something else, they do stop.
Well, that's
So
kind of cool.
yeah, so
So
they do that.
so Michelle, when you say like when you guys see like an image, okay? So say like you were with me right now in the studio. I'm downstairs in my studio. So say
Okay.
like Dan, I see a gangster, like a 1920s gangster in the corner over there.
Okay.
Now, are you seeing that in your mind, or are you actually seeing that with your eyes?
I am seeing it with my eyes because they look real to me just like you would.
So it's just like a regular person standing there.
Yep, regular person. And I see them of how they died. So if they had a gunshot wound like in their chest, I will see that gunshot wound. So, like I'm able to tell, like, okay, this person was hung or this person committed suicide and shot themselves. I see it at that moment.
Wow. So
Yeah.
how many times have you guys been to the Franklin?
I think it's 3 times, I believe. It was 3 times.
And did you log how many spirits or how many things you've encountered there in those 3 times?
Um, we did log some because a lot of it in the basement was residual. So
Okay.
it was just like on a time warp kind of deal.
Yeah.
Um, Lily is definitely an intelligent. So I don't think she'll ever leave,
Okay.
because that's her home.
So for everybody listening, real quick, if you missed last week's show, a residual haunting is just like what Michelle said. It's like a movie. It just keeps playing over and it loops. It's
Yeah.
an intelligent haunting is when that entity will interact. You can, hey, I want you, if you're here, knock 3 times, or if you can actually, you have interaction. And what's the third one, Michelle? I always forget the third one. Isn't there's
Uh,
three types? An infestation? Is that is
well, the infestation and stuff like that is more on the darker side of negative energy.
Okay.
That's never been, of human. So that's going down the different way, which was really crazy you said that, because there are a lot of intelligent spirits
Hmm.
that are actually not from earthbound
They're
that
not. They're
will
not. They're not what they say
no,
they are.
correct, they mimic.
Yeah.
And when you have a location that has a lot of spirit activity, people have to remember there is a balance even in the spirit world, that you're going to have your negative energy as much as you have your earthbound spirits. So there's a lot of times you have to navigate through that, because a lot of those negative ones like to hitchhike and go home with
Well,
people.
see, and I was asking.
So
I was asking Cheryl that the other week. When you guys go and do these things, how do you guard or protect yourself? I mean, do you pray? Do you pray? Do you pray? Do a prayer before you go in? Do you? I know some people have told me that they kind of envision themselves enveloped in light. I'm asking because I'm not an expert at this by any means, Michelle. I'm just asking.
Everybody has their own way.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing I always say is you need to hold on to what is dear to you, because whether it's prayer or if you put yourself in a bubble, you manifest your own grounding.
Yeah.
So you have to believe in that, because the intention that you have behind it is what's going to protect you. A lot of people use crystals or different types of stones, and because their intention is that peace or what I'm doing is going to keep me safe, that's actually what keeps you safe.
Okay. Rick said that's what worries his wife about doing stuff like this.
When you do an event, when you're doing like the group stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you can actually protect yourself. And it's really good when you're going to an event, like if you want to try it out before you do anything else, because you would actually start feeling if something's not right. That team, if they're do it correctly and professional enough, they can help make sure that doesn't happen.
So say like you got a group of 10 people there, and somebody starts getting really sick. They start getting nauseous. Is that what is that something trying to take trying to take their energy from them? Is that something that's what are they really getting sick of?
Well, it's a lot of times because it is energy based.
Okay.
And if somebody's going in really wide open, like, okay, I'm gung ho, I want to talk to spirits, I'm going to catch me a ghost, that kind of thing, they've opened themselves up. Well, when we open ourselves up, since we're all energy based, we're like a beacon of light. And that's what we look like to the spirits. We look like light, just like they do to us.
Mm-hmm.
So they're gravitating to that. Well, our physical bodies can't handle that much energy going through us. So we get like nauseated, we get headaches, or different types of things can happen. 99% of the time, if we just take that person outside and just get them away from it, it all starts subsiding away.
Okay. But like if you're in not the Franklin, because evidently the Franklin's is a actual operating hotel, so I'm sure everything's in code and doing fine. But if you go to a building, say like a building that's it's just dilapidated, but it still has electrical running or whatever. If you get into a really strong EMF field, if something's putting a lot of EMF and stuff out, that can actually make you sick too, right?
Absolutely. So that's like when we're doing private homes, because we actually help a lot of families.
Uh-huh.
Those are the things we check out first. We try to debunk everything, and strong EMFs. Also we make sure that there's no gas leaks if they have gas going through their home. So we check all the physical properties first before we start checking the spirit side.
Gotcha. Yeah, Brock said that's when you can start when you can tell when you start getting effective. Brock has a parapsychology group out on the East Coast, so he's been checking out the show. He's a pretty good guy. So Brock, thank you, buddy. I appreciate you chiming in. That's cool. Tell you what, let me take a real quick break, Michelle. Do you mind holding through?
Sure.
Okay, we'll be right back with Michelle. She is, if you just joined us, Michelle is with the RIverside Iowa Paranormal Group, and we're talking about the Franklin Hotel, but we're going to talk about some other haunts that she's been to, and then she's got some great events coming up, we'll tell you before we get out of here tonight. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Let me get over to my machine, and we'll be right back.
Whether it's camping, hunting, or fishing, you want your camping setup to be easy and your stay as comfortable as possible.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for watching tonight. Appreciate you.
Problem-free as possible since 1999. Camprite employees are outdoor enthusiasts that use and design each product to make sure your adventures are ones you'll want to remember. They carry great tents like the original tent cot that started it all. This fully enclosed, off-the-ground sleep shelter combines the comfort of a standard sleeping cot with the added protection protection of a tent. Camprite features several models of tent cot units, including single and double units. They also specialize in sleeping bags, camping tables, cooking prep units, chairs, and other fine quality outdoor products. With over 17 years of field testing great outdoor gear products, Camprite is the right choice to make adventures not only comfortable, but also carefree. Check out all these Camprite products at your local Sportsman's Warehouse or anytime on the web at camprite.com. That's camprite with a K.com.
Are you into hunting, fishing, camping, or tailgating? If you are, we'd like to introduce you to Arctic Ice. Arctic Ice is a brand new way to keep your game, beverages, and camping supplies cold and fresh wherever your adventure takes you. Arctic Ice.
What everybody have for dinner tonight?
A substitute that maintains low temperature longer than a bag of ice and does not have the slushy mess that can contaminate what's in your cooler. If you like to hunt or fish, look at the Alaskan Series or Arctic Ice Packs that will keep your game or fish at 34 degrees for 3 to 4 days. If you're wanting to really freeze things up, try the Tundra Packs that can keep your wild game and fish at dry ice temperatures for the travel back home. For tailgating or camping, try the Chill and Brew Packs. They will keep your beverages of choice at frosty cold temperatures 4 times longer than what a bag of ice can. If you want your game, fish, or camping goods to stay fresh and cold as possible without the mess of regular ice, go check out Arctic Ice Packs today.
Let's talk about a story, an Iowa story about a dream that took several years to come true in Osceola, Iowa. It's the story of Revelton Distilling Company.
It's still there, Rick. It's just I trimmed it up. See?
From the labor of Rob and Christina Taylor. It's amazing hearing the customers' descriptions of how unique each bottle is and how each spirit tastes and
hey, Tony.
With every
Man, that sounds good.
Whiskey to the whiskey and
hey, Dale, Catfish. That sounds really good.
American gin or vodka.
Thank you.
Revelton Distilling visitors.
Thank you, Rox.
Believe the flavor profiles the mixologists
That's kind of you.
At the distillery every day. Revelton Distillery is open Wednesday through Sunday in Osceola. They're located at 1400 West Clay Street, right off I-35. Revelton Distillery fine spirits are also available at your local grocery and
there you go, Yvonne.
Around Iowa. Please check them out online at reveltondistillery.com or visit them at the distillery. If it's time to celebrate or just time to sit back and unwind, well, then it's time for a Revelton moment.
Last one.
On your next adventure and looking for some snacks to take? Why not pack a snack that tastes great, gives you protein, and is easy to pack? Have you heard of Soldier Boy beef jerky? Soldier Boy jerky is slow smoked in small batches to ensure generous, tender morsels that taste outstanding. Soldier Boy beef jerky offers the following flavors: sweet heat, original, made.
That sounds good, Chris.
That will satisfy you all day in the field. Soldier Boy beef jerky is veteran-owned and proud supporters of the Canines for Warrior Foundation. They also donate to troops that are deployed serving our country. So next time you're looking for snacks from home or on your next outdoor adventure, please remember to reach for some Soldier Boy beef jerky, available at Sportsman's Warehouse. Soldier Boy beef jerky, outstanding taste that keeps you satisfied in the field. For more information, please check us out online at www.sbjerky.com.
All right, welcome back to the Unknown Files. Hope everyone's having a great Wednesday night. My guest is Michelle, and she is with the RIverside Iowa Paranormal group, and we're talking a little bit about the Franklin Hotel and some of the encounters that she's had out there. Michelle, I still got you?
You still have me.
There you go. Did you hear about that Arctic ice? Did you hear the commercials?
Oh, yes, I did.
Yeah, when you guys are out this summer doing your investigations, take some of that Arctic ice with your favorite beverage, and that'll keep it nice and cold all night.
Oh, that's nice, because we actually give beverages for all our guests.
Oh, there you go, man. That'll save you a lot of money, I promise you.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, Franklin, how many are you? You've been 3 times. Are you going to be doing any more encounters there this year?
I'm not sure about this year because we are pretty booked right now, and then I'm doing 2 trips across the pond.
Oh, good for you. Where are you going? Where are you going out there?
Well, we actually are doing a trip to Greece.
Oh, wow.
I'll be joined with the godfather of paranormal, Mr. Johnny Zaffis. And it's an inclusive type of trip where, everybody, you pay and you get to go ghost hunting with us, go all over Athens and different islands. And it's kind of a big one. And then in October, I'm going to Ireland.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I would love to go to Scotland or Ireland and go check out the castles. I always thought that'd be great.
I did Scotland,
Yeah.
and that was great because all the castles, they were amazing. And we actually got to go to the ruins that actually inspired Bram Stoker for Dracula.
Really?
Yes.
Where was that at? Where was that at?
It was on a little island close out there by, where Nessie is.
Yeah, Loch
So out
Ness.
there by Loch Ness.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
it was amazing that how much was still left of that castle.
Did you get anywhere close to like Edinburgh or where they had the big battles like in Braveheart?
Yes, we were there, and
What was that like? Did you pick up anything running around?
absolutely.
Did you?
It was crazy. The energy. I mean, energy in Scotland. Period.
Yeah.
Because of being so old.
Yeah.
It was like overwhelming at times. It was sometimes, I kept feeling like, I couldn't catch my breath. But we had went up the whole coastline.
Uh-huh.
We had like 20 some guests with us, and we started in Edinburgh and then kind of went up the coastline and stopped at different, castles. But we went to kind of like the witches and phantoms of Scotland.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we did.
Well,
It was amazing.
don't they call them banshees?
Yes.
Yeah.
Those two. And see, Ireland will be there during Halloween.
Oh, there you go.
So, we'll be doing their festivals, and also people learn about puka, things like that. So.
Oh, Michelle, you be talking about my old heritage. It's coming out to me, I tell you. See, we got a lot of Irish in Scotland. A puka, if I remember right, from my great grandmother, they normally take like the form of an animal. Am I remembering that right?
Yep, a shapeshifter.
Yeah, they're like a horse or, they're supposed to be hanging around they hang around leprechauns a lot, right?
Yes, and they actually make masks in Ireland during that time to wear, hoping that puka doesn't recognize them because of, maybe stealing the children, things like that. Yeah.
Gosh, man, that's going back 50 years. I don't know how I pulled that out of my head, but that's great. See, I always wanted to go over there and check out the castles, and go to some of the old pubs and stuff. I always thought that'd be really neat.
Oh yeah, we do that. We end up at the pubs, because we have to check out the food. Again, you can't do any kind of investigation unless your belly's full.
Yeah, I always thought Scottish food was kind of like based on a dare.
It was so crazy because, you think, okay, so their hotels, because we would stay at haunted castles and their hotels and things like that, and they'd have breakfast in the morning. And it was like the same breakfast every single day. And you're just like, I just can't do this haggis. This is not, it just doesn't look right.
Yeah, me and haggis.
So you kept eating everything around it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Eat the potatoes.
The potatoes are great.
Yeah.
And I also got to try deep fried pizza.
Ooh.
And I got to tell you, it is amazing.
Well, that actually sounds good too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, John Saffras, did he work with the Warrens?
He is actually a relative of the Warrens.
Okay, that's what I thought. I knew that name. Yeah.
He is the godfather of the paranormal. Over 50 years doing it. He was on all those big cases, the haunting in Connecticut, things like that.
That if I could ever talk to him, and I'm not trying to butt in here. No. But here's what I would like to ask him, because one of the things that I read about years ago on that haunting in Connecticut was where he went down into the basement where the kid was getting possessed, and because it used to be a morgue or something down there, if I remember right, and they were all upstairs, and he went downstairs and he saw what was down there, and it didn't attack him.
I believe so,
because he got out of there.
Yes, so he worked a lot. I want to say it was his aunt and uncle, if I'm correct. I think he's the nephew.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty bad case, and I was at a Paracon in was Gettysburg, and the mother of Haunting in Connecticut was actually there. And to know the stories that, was put in the book and everything like that, and what Johnny did, why he was there, and the Warrens did, why they were there, for her to validate exactly, I mean, we've seen it on TV or we read the book, but to hear it from her and what it did, it was, it's hard to explain the chills that go through your body of what this woman had to go through.
Yeah. Well, that was a horrible, her son was dying of cancer or something, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a sad story. Hey, what about let me ask you, since you've been running around Iowa for a little bit, what about the covered bridges and stuff? Have you ever done anything with them?
I have not. I normally am invited or go to events.
Okay.
And I stay indoors.
Well, apparently there's
critters.
Apparently one or two of those are haunted.
I've heard like the Crybaby Bridge and the Swinging Bridge, different things like that. I've never done those.
Okay.
So I'm not really sure. I've done a lot of, just like the Franklin. It's that little gem that's out there that people don't really know about.
So is that if someone wants to go and spend a weekend and just kind of do their own little thing, is a Franklin a good choice to go do that? I mean, there's no guarantees you're going to experience anything because it doesn't happen every day. But I mean, in Iowa is that a good starting point for somebody if they want?
It is a good starting point. One, they treat you so great while you're there. It's a hotel room. It's got running water, which is always a plus.
Yeah, plumbing's always good.
Yeah, especially when it's really cold out.
Yeah.
But it is a great place to start. Being a paranormal investigator or anything that you do, we spend a lot of hours in the dark talking to ourselves, because you can't pay spirits, to do anything. They're not like a circus sideshow.
Yeah.
Well, but if you're going with the right intentions, there's a lot of spirits that do want to communicate.
Well, don't feel like the Lone Ranger, because I'm out in the dark hunting a lot and talking to myself.
Yeah.
I spend hours talking to myself. It just.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just like, when is something going to happen? Come on, Mister.
Back in the day, they would lock us up for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, trust me, I'm telling you. It's just I'm usually, when I start answering myself, that's usually a sign that I need to go home.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. Well, I got to tell you, I think what you do is fascinating. Now, is there another place in Iowa that you guys go like once or twice a year that people, if the Franklin's too far for them, is there somewhere? Where else would you recommend?
The Farrar School.
Oh, yeah, that's just down the street from me. I've actually been.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's not. It's like 10, 15 minutes, but I've actually been there a couple times. It's a neat place.
It is, and it's just so crazy because everybody goes, "Oh, it's a school."
Yeah.
But after it turns dark, that place is crazy. Even outside, it is. It blows my mind.
Let me ask you a question, and I'm not trying to trick you. I just want to ask you a question. Did you ever go down in the basement?
By the boiler room.
I can't remember if it's. I can't remember if it's down. Did you ever hear music?
I did not hear music, but I did see a gentleman there that was trying to coax me to coming into the back area where the boiler room is.
Yeah, don't do that, Michelle.
And I guess I started talking about he did things to little girls there that should have not been done.
That's
all I can say.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yes.
The reason I asked you that is I've actually had a couple of my friends that went, and they've heard radio. They heard a radio down in that room, and it's happened to them twice, and they got it on tape. You can hear.
We got a video of a shadow man down in that boiler room area you're talking about. Walking across. Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I got to tell you, I think what you do is fun, and how many people are in your group?
Let's see. Well, I've got chapters. I got a chapter in Texas.
Oh, wow.
And I've got a chapter in Indiana. So there's, if I have to count them all, there's 20 of us or more.
20 people or 20 chapters?
I know 20 plus people in all the chapters.
Well, that's got to be
So
fun if if you got that many people sharing the same passion that you have. I think that's awesome.
yeah, and like the Indiana group, they've got like next week they'll be at the Monroe House for 2 nights, and then they're gonna be doing the Indiana Sanatorium over there.
Yeah.
At the same time, we'll be doing the Rock Island YMCA. So, it kind of gets people, we try to be around where people can do these events, because I know like on the East Coast, there's so many locations and people can pretty much get to all of them. In the Midwest, a little spread out. So you try to get to where people can actually join you.
Yeah. Now there's a sanitarium or a mental hospital that's is it Edinburgh or
Edinburgh, yes.
Edinburgh in Iowa. I hear
Oh,
that's pretty crazy.
that one's very intense.
Yeah.
And I mean, the backstory alone will break your heart. But then you have to realize, back then they didn't know a lot about mental health and different things like, we've learned as we, now. But yeah, it is crazy. And I would recommend it for people to go.
Do you guys ever see lights that you can't explain, or like I don't want to say orbs because orbs, to me, I've seen, I've seen. No, don't laugh at me. I've actually got video of like an energy ribbon that comes out of a wall at my old house. It happened three times in 7 years. I got it on tape because I was doing videos for the TV show, and I did not see them with my eye. I saw them in the camera on the computer in front of me because the computer
Wow.
and they came out of the wall and they expanded to like 3 inches long and then contracted, but they flew right by me. It wasn't an orb; it was like an energy ribbon. And
Oh, that's crazy.
and I tried to debunk that. I actually went down and took like little when we're hunting, when we check the wind for scent, because we always want to keep the wind in our favor so deer can't smell us.
Uh-huh.
I got these little microfibers that I can throw out, and it'll go with the flow of the wind. That's how we check the wind and stuff when we're in a tree stand bow hunting. And I took those down and I dropped them, and they just went straight down. There was no air, there was no flow in the basement for that to happen. And it happened in 3 different locations, but it always went. It either fly right over my head or across my shoulder. So, but orbs and stuff. I've seen orbs, but a lot of times I think what it is dust.
Well, and that's the thing, how they say when you're at a family gathering, you never talk politics.
Yeah,
Well, when you're
exactly.
with a whole bunch of paranormal people, we don't talk orbs.
Yeah,
Now there are orbs out there,
yeah,
and you can catch them, and you'll know because they'll have a ring around them because it is, again, when we're talking spirit world, we're talking energy based.
energy. Yeah,
Yes. So, yes, there are some, but you also have to watch because even if you don't see a moth, when you take pictures or video with a moth,
mm-hmm.
they actually make an amazing orb. And, so you kind of watch the way things flow.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want a good Thanksgiving fight, you just invite a whole bunch of paranormal people and orbs. It is amazing.
I'm learning. I've learned what I've learned in fast doing this show. It's like on Bigfoot. There's like different factions of people that believe in Bigfoot. Some believe that it's a flesh and blood animal. Some believe it's a spiritual animal. They call it the woo. So there's and I'm telling you, there's some people. Boy, if you don't, when it gets to that point, I always say, you could be absolutely right. And I just leave because I don't want to get in there. I don't want to get in the middle of it. I'm just asking questions. You know, so it's
Bigfoot goes from one dimension to another. I'm
there.
just going to let you know when I'm right. No, I'm joking.
Well, no, there's people that believe that they can go through portals. There's energy portals.
That's something we've spoke about too, because just like, the Loch Ness, I mean, it's really strange how we've all learned about like dinosaurs and things. I mean, these creatures, I mean, think about it. They used to walk the earth,
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, was Nessie part of something like that and goes through different dimensions or portals? That's why we only see at certain times. Does it still have some kind of dinosaur,
I, I
relative?
I don't know. Is it spiritual? Is it? You know, I don't.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of the Native Americans that I've talked to, almost. I think if I remember right, I'm right on this. Every Native American tribe has a name for Bigfoot.
I believe so. I
Yeah.
believe so.
So I mean, something's got to be going on. If they're, I mean, if all those people have a word for it, or it's something's up. I don't know. I was a diehard skeptic. I love Bigfoot growing up in the '70s. We had Momo the monster in St. Louis, and there was the Murfreesboro Mudman in Illinois. Iowa's actually had several dozen sightings over the years. I looked it up on the
Yeah.
yeah. Iowa's got, I don't know, I think 20 or 30. I believe people are seeing something. I just don't know what it is. I haven't seen or heard anything, but I'm just telling you right now, Michelle. If I'm ever out somewhere filming a hunting show, and if I see something, I just hope I can get it on video because I would love to see one.
Oh, I would definitely too.
Yeah,
Like I said, I talk to dead people, so I
I
can't
talk
say
to
there's
dead
no
people.
such thing. You know,
See, yeah, I can't say what I normally
sometimes their
say.
conversations are better.
Yeah,
No, but I believe in Bigfoot and that too. I mean, I can't see, just like I believe in UFOs.
well,
I don't think
there.
we're the only things.
Well,
You know,
you don't have to say that anymore because see, here's the thing. The Navy just released all that UFO footage
yeah,
2 years ago. Now, see, for years they were saying it was weather balloons. The government denied it. Well, now they've actually released where they're showing aerial combat footage from FLIR
yeah.
units in the jets. It's unexplained phenomena. They can't. I had a gentleman from MUFON on several weeks ago, and he's one of their lead image consultants for MUFON, and he's a model maker for the Navy. And he was out on a sub, and they actually had sonar contacts in the Atlantic when he was on the sub they were going 700 knots. And nothing we have goes 700 knots.
No,
And he goes, it was right there. So they called me.
yeah.
Yeah. So there's, there's a lot of stuff coming out lately.
Well, and I think it's because, it was always told no matter, and that's also with the paranormal, you didn't talk about it because they kept thinking people would not understand or,
Yeah.
things like that. And I think, we have all evolved so much that we will believe in that more than we believe what, standing in front of something because at one point in our lives, through generations, we've all experienced something.
Something you
And I
can, yeah.
mean, when the cavemen have carvings, of UFOs or Bigfoot, something was going on. And I don't think it just disappeared all, I
Oh,
just
no.
think it's taking a break.
Yeah. Well, look at what's that over in Central America, Chicken Piku or whatever, the pyramids.
Yeah.
I mean, look at all that. That's why I love doing the show. I'm trying to I think I'm pretty close. I've got an author that they've written about ghost ships, and they've actually been out in the Great Lakes and seen vessels that weren't there, but they've got video of them.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
so I'm hoping I can get them booked pretty quick here. So, all right, listen, we're running out of time. I want to thank you for coming on, and it was just delightful to have you on the air. And can you tell everybody how they can get a hold of you?
Well, they can actually go to our Facebook page, Riverside Iowa Paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
That is where we put all our events. We talk paranormal. We, look at videos, all that. And if they go to riversideiowa.paranormal.org, that is our website. And, just like we take care of private, homes too, everything's confidential and it's free. So if anybody's listening and is needing help in their home, we're also available to help there too.
That's awesome. Can we have you come back?
Absolutely. I
Do
would be offended if I couldn't.
Yeah. And you couldn't?
No, I would be offended if I wasn't
Oh no, I love to have you. I'm sitting there going, what's going to stop you from coming back? I'm not going to stop you. No, we love. Hey, do me a favor. Let me know how things are going in the spring and summer. And if you got something really cool going on, would you please email me or text me, and we'll get you booked right away. But I'll try and reach out to you before the summer's over.
Sounds wonderful. Well, thank you.
No, Michelle. No, thank you. We appreciate you having on the Unknown File show. And then, hey, when did you say your first big trip was?
It's actually going to be the first part of September.
Oh,
that is when the celebration of Akate will be,
Mm-hmm.
and we will be hitting all the areas of the gods and goddesses, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, well, we'll have you on before then. So.
Sounds wonderful.
All right, give everybody at the RIverside Iowa Paranormal my best, and please keep in touch, and we'll talk to you soon.
We'll talk to you soon, and like we say here at RIverside Iowa Paranormal, we'll see you in the dark.
Yeah, there you go. That's awesome. That should be a T-shirt.
It is.
Thanks, Michelle. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, that's awesome. What a great guest. Hope you guys enjoyed that. That was a fun show. Another great show. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on here on Wednesday nights. And thanks to everybody listening on the Outdoor Call Radio app. I couldn't do it without y'all. Please tell your friends and families about the live shows and all the great program we have on. As long as I'm doing broadcasting, this will always be free. It will never be a charge to download the app or listen into programming. And I always want to share some stories with you. So thank you. If you got an experience or something happened to you and you want to reach out about it and talk about it, you can go to theoutdoorcallradio.com. That's my website. And my email is right there. Just look for the little cartoon mailbox. All right, that is going to wrap it up for this week. We'll see you next time right here on the Unknown Files show. We'll see you. Bye, everybody. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for spending some time with me here on Facebook. 2 nights a week on Wednesdays. That's a lot, but we appreciate it. We might break it up. I don't know. It's just nice because we're going to start getting into turkey season, and it's easier for me to do 2 shows in a row live, and then I got the rest of the week to go hunt. So we'll figure it out. But if you got anything going on in your neck of the woods that you think would make a great show, please reach out to me here on Facebook. Bye, cuz. Love you too. Tell everybody hi for me, please. Reach out to me. You can email me, theoutdoorcallradio.com. My email's right there. Or you can always message me here on Facebook too. Have a great night, everybody. I'll see you soon. God bless you.